All right, 6th grade. For this lesson, we're talking about circles and circumference, specifically how to find the circumference of a circle. Archimedes, you guys read about in history recently, and he was a Greek mathematician, physicist, engineer, and astronomer. He's the one who discovered circumference, that in any circle, the ratio of the circumference to the diameter is always the same, which is pi. Okay, so let's go over this diagram here. And this is on page, what did I say? 129 in your workbook, so you can follow along here. Pi, which is also written as 3.14. You know it's a really huge, never-ending number, right? It's on my bulletin board in my classroom. It's the edge around it. But pi equals the circumference, which is the outside of the circle. Think of that as perimeter. It's all the way around, okay? That's the circumference. It's like saying the perimeter of a circle. And then diameter is the distance across the circle, okay? Radius is half of the diameter, okay? So if I were to go from here to here, that would be the same measurement as the other radius you see there. So you can think of diameter equals radius, I wrote the wrong thing. The radius equals half of the diameter. Okay, so if they ever give you the diameter, you can solve for the radius. If they ever give you the radius, so diameter equals 2 of the radiuses. That's an R. That's a terrible R. Okay? Write all these formulas in your journal. Okay, so let's go over how to solve for some of this. Oh, there's one other vocab word you need to know for when you do your IXL. If at any point you have a line connecting the circle, but it's kind of off to the side, that is called a chord. Okay, you need to know that for when you are doing your IXL. That's the only thing they didn't explain to you. Okay, so let's go over how to solve. So if I have, I'm not going to use yellow, this equation, pi equals the circumference divided by the diameter. I can rearrange this to solve for anything. So if I wanted to get circumference, if I needed to find the circumference, I would just multiply the diameter to move it over here. So then my new equation would be the circumference equals the diameter times pi. A lot of times, though, they don't give you diameter. They give you the radius. So you would actually have the circumference equals 2 radiuses. So it would be 2 times r times pi, but it's more proper to write it 2 pi r. And remember, when you see pi, that equals 3.14. So if you're going to do this work, that's the number you use to solve. Okay, we had diameter, which is the circumference divided by pi. Okay, which you can also find the diameter by doing 2 times the radius if they give you the radius. Okay, and then radius was 1/2 of the diameter. Okay, so you need to have all of these formulas written in your journals. That way you can solve for them, okay? So I'm going to do one of these with you. The only worksheet you had to do is page 132. I wanted you to look at page 129 at the top part, which we just did on the video. So I'm going to do number 1 with you just to get you started. So number 1, they have a circle, and they have a dot in the middle going down, and they say this is 9 inches. Okay, what measurement would this be? If it's half of the whole length of the circle, this would be called the what? The radius. So then to find the diameter, what was the equation to find the diameter? 2 times the radius, right? So then I just need to say 2 times, what's my radius? 9. So diameter equals 18, and then label it, 18 inches. A lot of these you're going to label, guys, so don't forget that. Okay, so there's your answer for number 1. Okay, number 2, you're finding the radius, and they gave you the diameter, so you just need to find half the diameter. I'm not going to do that one. I'm going to let you do that one. But I will do number 3 with you. So we have a circle. They have a line going all the way across, and they're telling you this is 20 centimeters. So if it's the line going all the way across, that would be the radius. And they want you to find the circumference. So the circumference equals 2 pi r or the circumference equals the diameter times pi. Because remember, 2 times r is actually what the diameter is. So that still works. In this case, what have they given you? Well, they gave us the diameter. So we know the diameter is 20. So we're going to say C equals 20 times pi, and pi is 3.14. So then you would multiply 3.14 times 20, which I'll just do for you for this equation, which would give you 62.8, and then make sure you label it. This is centimeters. Okay, so the circumference of this circle is 62.8 centimeters. Okay, I'm going to do number 4 with you, just to give you one more. I'm going to do that like half this worksheet with you, so you only have to do a little bit. Okay, in this case, they gave you that this is equal to 14 inches. And again, we're trying to find the circumference. So our 2 possible equations are, for the circumference is 2 pi times r, or the diameter times pi. Well, in this case, we have what? The radius. So I'm going to use this first equation. The circumference equals 2 times pi, which is 3.14, times r, which is 14. So then you would multiply 2 times 3.14 times 14. The circumference equals 87.92. Whoa, that's not an 87. There you go. All right, now I'm going to do one of these, number 6, because 6 and 7, you can see that they're half circles. So, and then they say this whole thing is 5 inches. So they're telling you the diameter here of this circle is 5 inches. So how would I find the circumference of a half circle? Well, to find the whole circle, I do the diameter times pi, right? So then once I find my answer for that, to find half of the circle, I would just divide it by 2, right? But then don't forget to re-add the 5 to it at the end, because they want the perimeter of the whole semicircle. All right, so let's do that. The diameter is 5 times pi. So 3.14 times 5, it's going to give you 15.7. So now this number is if it was the whole circle. So if we divide it by 2, that's going to give us just the half of the circle, which is 7.85. So that's telling me that this measurement right here is 7.85. Now to find the perimeter of the whole thing, I also need to add this part, which is the 5 inches. So I'm going to have 7.85 plus 5, which gives me 12.85 inches. So that would be the perimeter of the semicircle. Okay, so you can do number 7 and number 8. Holler if you have any questions.